Morning guys. I thought this morning I'd go through this with you. I've been asked one or two questions about this. I installed an F800 Pro dash cam front and rear in my BMW 6 Series F13. When I get in the mornings, I normally get a battery discharge warning that comes up. Ironically, I've just started the car this morning and it came up and cleared itself pretty quickly. So I've decided to install a secondary battery to hopefully stop these warning charges. And also at the same time I've just come across a little filter for the dash cam. You do get quite a lot of glare on the dash cam, on the dashboard rather, through the dash cam. So I'm going to go through that this morning. I'll just explain how I took apart the dashboard and put all the trim in it, the cables in, etc. For the original dash cam, and then we'll go through the fitting of this battery. So I'll come back in a moment. Cheers. Okay, back again guys. Okay, so the first thing I need to do is remove this trim and actually get underneath the dashboard here and remove this panel to get access to the fuse box. So little T15 here, and that's up to my little set. This is one of those things from Aldi actually that doesn't cost you the fortune, but you make so much use of it every now and again. Anyway, so underneath here, if we can get under, then you've got a screw just on the side here, side panel. There's one here and there's one over on this side here. So if you take those out, that'll take this bottom panel down for you. On the side here, I'm doing this unprompted, I haven't done it yet before this morning. So pull off your trim here, there we go, and then we know what we need to do is take off this side panel here, and just with a old-fashioned trim tool, just pop that. You can hear it popping away there. So just pop that out. Don't disturb any of the airbag switches, and just, there you go, as easy as that. So just let that come out slightly there, and you'll see that I've got the dash cam cable here that I've already fitted. So I've got one that will go up and around the trim to the back of the car, and then inside here we'll have the piggyback system that's going down into the fuse box. And I've got, this is the earth cable here running into a bolt on the inside. Can you see that there? So that's where I've earthed the cable there. So we'll take this apart a bit more and then come back to you in a second. Okay, bye. Okay, so I've taken the 3 Torx screws out, these little chaps here, and now that's given me the ability to drop this panel here now. So from memory, let's just give it a bit of a wiggle. I think there's a part there that sits behind this panel here. There we go. So that will come out. I've got a light, I think, here that's clipped for the for an interior light. Just trying to do this one-handed. So if I just leave that there for the moment, what we'll do is it'll show you now that we've got access to the fuse box. Just let me go and get a torch and I'll come back. Okay, so we've now got, as we said, access to the fuse box here. So I've put in 2 piggybacks already. So one was a constant and one was an ignition, and that's what's causing me the problem, because the constant live feed is obviously drawing off the battery now. So I'm going to put this battery in. Sorry about this. Put this battery in to stop that happening. So if you're going to put a dash cam in anyway, this is basically as easy as it is in a sense, but you've got the side panel that's come off here. There's my piggyback cables that, if you can see through here, can you see down there? There's the fuse box that we've just got access to, and the fuses are in there. So normally you would run a piggyback system, one cable down into there, and if it hasn't got parking features etc, just go one into the ignition, an accessory feed, isn't it? So you want one accessory feed on the fuse box, and then I've, like I say, earthed it there. Now with this dash cam, you've got one cable that comes up here on the trim, so we went around the edge of the trim here, and then I'm going to have to take this out now because I've got a new cable to go onto the camera, across the top of the trim and then down onto the camera over there. And then, because this is a dual camera, the other cable that comes from there then runs down here, and this on these 6 series. So basically you take out this trim, your side trim here, get out of the way, sorry, side trim out of there, and I've ran it underneath the trim by the side of the seat. Pull the seat open and went down into the back through various sort of trim fits. Let's see, did we go here? Sorry, I'm making this up as I go along. So yeah, there we go. There's my cable. So we went round the edge of the door trim here. Take this off a bit more. There we go. And then there's my cable all the way up into the roof line in here. And then I've obviously followed did this so long ago, sorry. Roof lining trim all the way along here, onto this window, along this trim here in the back, and then up into the back window. Okay, so I'll come back in a moment. Okay, so we're getting down now to stripping out the previous piggyback cables that I had in, and I've got 2 in, like I said before, one for a ignition feed and one for a live feed. Previously I'd used fuse 61, which was for a live feed, and fuse 48, which was for an ignition feed. Now fuse 48, according to this diagram, is only a 5 amp, and this battery system says it wants a minimum of 20. So if we look on here, fuse 15 has a 20 amp, number 15 20 amp, and fuse number 15 is for the car's locking system as well. So I'm sure that would be fine, because then it allows me to on and off when the car, I'm unlocking and locking the car, so that would work well. So let's go ahead and refit this. The cables are slightly different. I've got this new cable that goes up to the camera, and then I've got the cables that I've otherwise used here, which are now going to go into straight into the battery. So we'll wire these up. That one, sorry, beg your pardon, that one goes into the battery, and back, and these go up to the camera. So I'll wire those in and then come back to you in a moment. Cheers. Okay, back again. So what we've done so far is tap into the cables that come from the camera from here, that would originally have gone on the piggyback cables. These would have then taken them down to the fuse box, but of course now we don't want to do that. So I've tapped into the cables using these spade connectors, and what we've now got is the new DC out feed cable that will plug into this new battery pack. So thinkware battery pack. So we've now got the cable that will go into the output connector there. So if we get this powered, wired up, now I've got to put the input into a fuse, which, as we've said, we can use, or we'll look at using fuse 15, wasn't it, which is a 20 amp fuse, and then find a suitable place for this battery underneath the dashboard somewhere, and then see if she all starts to power up. So I'll come back again shortly. Okay, so just looking at some location points for this thinkware battery, and I'm not one for making holes unnecessarily in cars, but just that is an absolute perfect spot, in that it's obviously meant for the service buck, but that fits beautifully there. So one thing I forgot to mention actually earlier on was there was a false panel on the back of your back of your glove box there, to get access, easy access to your to fuses should you need to. So in this case we need a bit more than just a easy access, but you can see there that that false panel. But I am tempted to fit it in there, because I just think that's such a nice spot for it. So by the looks of it, we'll just take these torque screws out here and see if this drops this panel. And for the sake of a very small 1 centimetre, 2 centimetre type hole in the back, just drill a couple of neat little holes in there. Then I'm thinking that that might be a perfect spot, tucked out of the way. So I'll come back shortly. Bye. Okay, here we are. I tried to take the glove box off, but I think it was becoming more trouble than it was worth, probably, to dismantle half the dashboard. So I've gone ahead and drilled a couple of holes just down there in the back, just big enough to fit the cable through and the earth wire through. So they're not untidy at all actually, and if you decide that this is all coming out at some point, then just a couple of little rubber grommets or something would fit in there neatly. But I just put the drill in there, and then now that allows me to fed this cable through, which is the main power cable that will feed in the back of the battery, and then I'm just going to feed the spade connectors through one by one, obviously, just to take those round to the back now, and then all the way around the back of the dashboard, and then fit those back onto the to the dash cam cables that had fitted here. So all that can sit then around the back. As you'll see here, previously I've tie wrapped everything, so whilst you've got all these cables dangling around, then everything will be tied off and tucked away neatly in there. So I'll come back shortly but with any luck we'll have the battery installed in there. I did sort of question it, because I thought, well, this is the BMW pack that they give you for your car, when actually there's absolutely no way that will fit in there anyway, so I don't feel too guilty that I've used up that little space there for this battery. But yeah, I'll come back again soon. Okay, bye. Okay, so quick update. I've now got the battery fitted into this compartment here, and I've just put sufficient cable, tucked it through the back there, so that so that there's just a couple of little holes there, and plugged into the battery pack, and that just fits away in there. So that's fine, that's good, neat. And then I've started to feed the cables through around the back, and then I've just brought up the earth cable first of all, which I'm fitting to the main body of the car there. So that's a 13mm bolt that sits on there. So as you can see, I did have to split the circle of the earth cable just to fit over that bolt, but once the bolt's on, that'll be good earth there for the battery pack. And then the other side, the live feed for the battery pack, I'm going to take through to the fuse box in a moment. But I've started tie wrapping everything off, so all this gets nice and secure, and then I'll bring all those connectors up here, connect everything off, and then start to put everything back together again. So I'll see you in a moment. Okay, so just about to start putting all this back together again now. So as you can see, I've got all my connectors in place, tucked away down here, so everything that's reconnected has been tucked away, cables tie wrapped. Use the earth up there, which is now for the battery pack, and that's working well in there. So, and as I say, all my cables there. So I'm just now going to put this panel back on, tie wrap everything off underneath on the fuse box, get that connection going to the fuse box itself for the battery, and put everything back in place again. Okay, bye. Okay, so that was probably one of the most difficult things, as all things are, to fit a fuse to this and find one that I could get access to. So in the end I ended up using fuse 51, which was for the wiper blades, and it's just very awkward to get up and under there. But it says that I've got the engine running now, so that the battery pack is charging. There's a red light on there to say it's charging, so that works. That's working well there. I'll just go underneath and I'll show you where I fitted the battery pack. So just get a torch and fitted the fuse. So we went under and piggybacked up there on fuse 51, so which is actually a 30 amp fuse, but it was difficult to get up right into the 20s right at the top. So if I've done this right, let's have a look. If we turn the ignition off, then we should, with any luck, wait for the car to power down, and we should see this going off as the ignition goes off. So if I've done it right, let's see what happens. I can never remember whether to double click my ignition to switch it off twice. Let's try it. There we go. So double click it twice and then it switches off. So with any luck this will now power off. If we see that red light go off, then we know that I've done it right. If not, it's back to the drawing board, because that'll be a constant feed and that's not what we want. So let's see what's happening. The dash cam didn't power on, but as it normally does with the engine, but I think you've got to, I think it takes 45 minutes to charge this battery up. So if the battery's not charged, then there's no power to power the dash cam as yet. So I'm guessing that'll give it a run tomorrow and get some power into the battery. But let's have a look. Everything else is, my electric seats etc. sitting next to are still working, so it still hasn't completely switched off yet. So I'm not sure how many seconds it takes to power off the ignition once you leave the car, but let's see what happens. But yeah, I've got all the trim panels and everything back on now, so everything's gone back on the sides there, so, and all my rubber seals and everything back in place, and I just need to put these cables, tie wrap these cables up and get everything tucked away. So let's well, I'm gonna click the camera off and then give you a quick final go. If it works well, then I'll know I've done it right. But as I say, and the other thing, I'm not an auto electrician, and so if anybody sort of, apologies if I've given you some of the terminology wrong or anything like that, but just tend to sort of have a go and do these things myself. But you know, the idea being that you learn as you go along sometimes, but followed the instructions in the guidebook and seen what it says. But yeah, if you're not 100% sure you want to tackle this yourself, get an auto electrician to do these sort of things. But I just wanted to show that it's certainly doable from that, you know, from a DIY point of view. So the interior light and everything's still on, so they've obviously still got an ignition. I'm going to lock the car and just make sure it powers off, and then I'll come back to you. Okay, this has been very long-winded for me, but my fault. I haven't got sometimes the things I need to do the job right. So camera's installed, working well, batteries installed, green light flashing, charging, and went for fuse 42. So we've got a piggyback in there on fuse 42, and everything works really well. So turn the engine off and it'll all start to power down, and I may have to shut the door or turn the ignition off, but normally now when I do this it'll kick into parking mode. So I've just got a few cables and that to put back on, but ultimately that's the finished result. Let's get out and there's my keys, park the car, see if we can hear it moving into parking mode. Lock the car. There we are, telling me it's gone into parking mode. So it's working well, and I can see the camera light flashing on the front there, saying it's working in parking mode. Excellent. Well, I hope that helped. It's been a long-winded video, sorry. It should have been a bit better than that, but as I say, I hope it helps to anybody that wants to put a dash cam in or put one of these things in, and certainly having that battery in there. Just going to tidy everything up a little bit, but all good. Okay, cheers, thank you for that, and any questions please drop me a line. Cheers, bye.